We're live.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness! And we are on the interwebs.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, it's the Man Cave Archive. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're just basically, we're checking everything, making sure that we could be heard live, bigger, blacker than ever, supposedly. How you guys doing? We're hoping that you had a great day. It has been a super busy week for me. How's it been for you?
It's been going. It hasn't stopped yet.
Has it been going? Has the week been going on you?
Exactly. I don't know which one yet, but it's getting there.
Oh man. So tonight and even today, the gaming world has been on fire. Video games have been throwing out all kinds of crazy stuff. And we're here to kind of deliver the news to you, give our perspective on it. And hopefully we got us some new fans. We're always looking for more, man.
Yeah, so there's a lot of news stories.
Jeez Louise.
Aside of one of the ones we got earlier today that Sony acquired the studio behind Returnal, Housemarque. I believe is how you say it. Sony announced that this is from Game Informer magazine. Sony announced that it has purchased developer Housemarque, the studio behind titles such as Returnal, Nex Machina, and Rosengun, to name just a few. PlayStation's Herman Hulse took to the PlayStation blog to talk about the latest acquisition. In the post, Hulse celebrates Housemarque's most recent success with Returnal while reflecting upon the studio's past. I have been a fan of Housemarque since the studio's early days when they introduced Super Stardust HD to the PlayStation fans, he said. Adding Housemarque to PlayStation's growing creative team is a smart move and one that the studio's co-founder couldn't wait to celebrate as well. So there, obviously, as I said, that news story comes from Game Informer magazine that they have more on that. But Sony's making moves, obviously. Their studio purchases are not nearly as, I'm not going to say profound, but I would say they're not nearly as robust. Xbox, as we know, bought ZeniMax, aka Bethesda.
Yeah.
So we know, Todd Howard apologized about that, but he can't do anything about it. It's a PlayStation exclusive, more than likely. Games like Doom will continue to be third-party games because obviously there's more money there. There's more PlayStation 5s out there. There's more PlayStation 4s out there. There's more PlayStation. There's even Nintendo Switches out there because Doom Eternal's coming to the Switch pretty soon here. So there's just more ability to get more hands on those games if you have them on multiple consoles. I know for a while people have been saying that they're waiting for Nintendo to go ahead and go third party.
Never gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. A lot of folks want Nintendo to go ahead and go third. Or at least put the games on PC because we see Sony doing that. That Sony just announced. Sony just announced that they're going to be putting a lot of their PlayStation exclusives on PC, but Nintendo has no reason to do that right now. Plus, with the Switch already probably in the 90 million consoles out there, there's no point in doing it.
Yeah, bro. Like, this is just the stupidest thing you can possibly imagine. And I get it. Mario is such an iconic character. It's kind of like, imagine Disney saying, hey, we only appear on, Panasonic televisions, or we only appear on Sony televisions, or only on Samsung televisions.
Exactly. That'd be dumb.
The problem, though, is that Mario has developed such a culture and has such an ecosystem. It's kind of like, why you never see... I think there was only one film I've ever seen where Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse were inside the same movie. I think that was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we're likely never going to see this happen. Now, I do think it would be hilarious, on the other hand, if either Lara Croft or Crash Bandicoot appeared inside of Smash Bros. That would be hilarious because there's a lot of you who are just so young you wouldn't understand that. Sonic is already inside of Smash, so the full coup de grace really is Crash Bandicoot because it used to be Sony's basically mascot for a long time, but so was Lara Croft.
Yeah.
Alucard from Symphony of Night, as well as Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy, have already made their appearances. And again, those used to be Sony exclusives. Spyro would be funny to see it on Smash or something like that,
sure.
but you'll never see that. Furthermore, I'm gonna say this. I think Microsoft believes it's for the taking.
What do you mean? In terms of...
a couple years ago, remember they were talking about how they were going to put games on the Switch.
Oh, yeah. Well, they've already put out Cuphead.
Yeah.
Cuphead and Ori and the Will of the Wisp and Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yeah.
Are on the Switch consoles.
But I think that at one point in time, I think they were actually considering going the way of the Buffalo at one point in time. But I think there's been a reinvigoration. The reason why I'm saying that is because, first off, the E3 hype. Two, Sony is not as far ahead of Microsoft as people want you to believe. I mean, no. Let me explain. Just bear with me. None of their consoles are on the counter or on the store shelves. Both, you can't find a Microsoft, and you can't find a Sony right now.
Yeah, but
and I'm
Sony
saying
is outselling 3-1 right now.
Oh, I don't doubt that, but if you can begin to take away games like Bethesda's games, such as the Morrowind series, which grew to prominence, frankly speaking, on the PS2 as well as on the PS3, those are big wheelhouse titles. So you're talking about, okay, you don't have to take them all. You don't have to take them down all at once. It's like when the Xbox 360 came out. The Xbox 360 in some places was actually ahead of the PS2. Or the PS3, rather.
PS3, with the PS3 came out at $600. Nobody's gonna buy that.
Absolutely. but I think that there's probably been an investor that said, with the market being as wild as it is and nothing being the same since COVID kicked off, things could be open. Like, you just got to be provocative about it. Yeah. And you got to basically make statements that you actually believe. And then on top of that, they had that awesome E3 showing, because I honestly thought that Microsoft was going to be looking to go, leave this alone. Leave this to Sony and Nintendo at one point in time.
When they bought Bethesda, and then before Bethesda, they bought out, was it Factor 5?
Yeah.
And then bought out a bunch of different indie titles. You could tell that there was a push to go ahead and take the, not saying that they weren't taking it seriously, but the Xbox One X was just a terrible time for them. And they came out with a DRM saying that, well, if you don't like, you can still play the 360. And that's just stupid. That's not what you tell people who have money. I think to me, the only way Microsoft has a chance at this console war is if Sony misses the boat with console exclusives. If you have to keep on pushing back games, because right now they don't have any major title coming out after Ratchet and Clank. Horizon Forbidden West is not a lock-in go for 2021. It's not. And so if Sony doesn't lock in some titles pretty soon here, all this hype of, it's selling like this, okay. And then eventually word of mouth is going to get around. They don't have any games on the system.
Nope.
And then right then, depending on how many games Bethesda has in the pipeline too, though, because even though Bethesda is a good studio, a lot of Bethesda's games come out mad buggy. And, that was the problem. Even when Skyrim came out, it couldn't even run on the PlayStation 3 for almost 2.5 years. You couldn't run the game on the PlayStation 3. And even Fallout 76, that just came out. It got laughed out of the market. That game sold poorly because it was trash. Yeah.
But I think
it'll depend, man. It's a lot of factors in there.
But I think the reason why, and I could honestly make the argument that the reason why a company like Bethesda and id and a lot of these other companies kind of went through a struggle period, because their games are based upon the seasons. Now you have the financial backing of Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like going from, I mean, listen, I love my Chevys, but that's like going from an Impala to a Cadillac.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden have moved from, okay, how we gonna pay the bills? This, or we have a projection of sales for the calendar year, to where Microsoft will say, okay, what's our projection of sales for the 5 years? Yeah. Like, that's a different type of conversation. That's a different type of mentality. And I think that if maybe even I'd even go out on a limb and say that if Microsoft were to consider buying a company I would consider buying right now would be CD Projekt Red. And the reason why I would consider buying them is because they are in trouble. They are in trouble.
I don't think you'd be able to purchase CD Projekt Red right now, even though they're in trouble. They have a lot of investors still in there. Their stocks is still high up. It hasn't fallen yet.
I think with some of the stuff that's going to come up during the concurrent weeks, it's going to look bad, bro. Yeah. Like, it's going to look real bad. And I think when they try to come out with another game, I hate to say it, because we're not talking about like TV fans, right? Who have a short memory. And even TV fans, they don't necessarily have a short memory. It's just there's certain things they're not willing to put up with, such as, like, for those who don't know, the phrase "jump the shark." The phrase "jump the shark" was based upon the Happy Days. And Fonzie was so cool. I mean, the Fonz was everything. And so out of nowhere, they decided to make him cooler by making him jump over a shark. Well, why did he jump over a shark? No one really knows. But it was cool, and they thought they were good until gradually everything just began to fall apart. And I'm saying, I think that this might have been their jump the shark moment. Unless they come out with a Witcher game that's even more amazing than Breath of the Wild, or even more amazing than a lot of things, because people are going to look at them to see CD Projekt Red.
I mean, true, but you can always win back goodwill. Look at, for example, Nintendo. Do we forget the Wii U? That thing only sold 13 million copies. Yeah. Compare that to the Wii, which did 120 million copies.
Yeah.
Nintendo lost a lot of goodwill because they just made stupid moves. Like, the console the Wii U should have never came out. It should have been straight from the Wii to the Switch.
Yeah.
The Wii U was a waste of time. It was a waste of money.
Well, I think the Wii U was a concept
that should have never came out.
I totally get that, but I think that it was. I think the Wii was, or the Switch was the concept that was realized because of the errors of the Wii U. Like, you can't deny it, because the Wii U, basically, it being a single screen device, because that's what the Wii U was. It was single screen. And they made everybody say, what about the other guys? Well, they can't have what you have. Why not? Design flaw. And everybody got exposed for that. So I feel like that it's like the saying is that necessity gives birth to innovation.
Yeah, true, but it's like the Wii U was just a gimmick. There was really no point in the Wii U at all. Okay, you can switch from full screen to handheld. Cool, but you can only do it up to 20 feet. Like, come on.
Yeah.
The Switch, yes, to your point, the Switch is the full realization of what Nintendo wanted to do with the Wii U. The problem, though, is that the Wii U nearly put Nintendo out of the market.
True.
Nintendo literally said that the Switch was going to be their last hurrah.
Yeah.
And if it didn't do well, Nintendo was going to go the way, as you said earlier, of the buffalo. And so, I think it's one of those things where it's like, Microsoft can get away with that. Microsoft is a multi
billion
conglomerate business. Yeah. They have a bunch of different divisions. They don't
And
just
it's
do
funny
software.
what an OS actually will do for you.
They don't just do software. They do cell phones. They even do some appliances in different countries. Applications inside of cars, Wi-Fi services. So
all the commercial
Exactly.
businesses, all the cable companies, all the telecom companies.
Nintendo does niche game market. I mean, even though the game market is big, it's multi-billion-dollar industry, and Nintendo did have their best year last year, $19.6 billion, I believe.
Yeah,
is what they did in terms of all of their sales and growth. So they did a lot, but the Wii U nearly put them out of the business, out of the market. And it's just something that, this late in the game, having been in the gaming business since the late 1970s, early 1980s, it's just you're too old to make a stupid mistake like that.
Well, I think what happened though with Nintendo, and I think like we just talked about, they had a jump the shark moment. They had the Game Boy Mini. People forget about that. You had the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, and then you decided, okay, we want to make a miniature one that's just this small. And it's like, well, why? Well, because we think it would be cool to have something so small that you have to squint to look at it. Yeah. It's like, okay, but why? And then they came out with the DS, the 3DS. I thought the 3DS was a fine device because it had an upgrade over the original DS. But again, they came up with the DS XL, and it was like, I felt like what it was is that they basically just didn't have enough ideas to continue on the path they were going. And I think that's one of the reasons why a person like Shigeru Miyamoto kind of moved away from just the producer aspect. He's a console designer now. Yeah. He's in that position where he's like, this will work, that won't work. That won't work, this will work. That sucks. Like he challenges people, and I think that's exactly what Nintendo needed in those hollowed halls that have given us so many great memories. Because sometimes you get cocky, you get arrogant at the wrong time. At the wrong point. They came up with the analog stick and never patented it.
Yeah, or the rumble pack.
Or the rumble pack, or the rumble feature. It's like they're artistic, they're brilliant, they come up with wonderful ideas, but they never capitalize. Yeah. They never capitalize because they're not, I hate saying it, they're limited in their scope of doing business. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're artisans. But I look at the Microsoft move as a chess move because that company, Bethesda, they're too big. Mm-hmm. And for them to get purchased like that, I would say this is bigger than any purchase that Microsoft has done previously.
Oh, of course. Period. Just some rundown news. Shout out to my daughter, Sophia. Hello.
What's good, baby?
But just some rundown news real quick. It's their ESRB has a listing, the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. This goes along with a rumor of an expansion, talking about two of the characters in that game. One was Jin Sakai's, one of his mentors. I forget his name right now. And then that mentor's mentee, which she's based off of a ancient Japanese warrior. But there's a possibility of a director's cut coming out for that game.
What is the director's cut actually going to entail, though?
I mean, I don't know. I'll read it right here. It seems a new version of Ghost of Tsushima is on the way, at least according to the Entertainment Software Ratings Board. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is listed on the Video Game Ratings Organization's website, despite the fact that Sony hasn't officially announced it yet. Without that announcement, it's not quite clear what a Director's Cut of the 2020 open world adventure might include. Ghost of Tsushima got a multiplayer expansion, a new game plus mode, and a next-gen upgrade since its launch last July. But all of that content was released for free. Fans have also speculated that a PC version of the game could be on the way, similar to the PC launches of the PlayStation exclusives like Days Gone and Horizon Zero Dawn. Yet the ESRB listing only mentions PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 as part of the rating for the Director's Cut. One possible explanation could be the recent talk and domain registration of something called Ghost of Ikishima uncovered by industry insider Shispal_Nick, that could be a full standalone expansion to the original game, and if so, it's possible that a director's cut of Ghost of Tsushima could contain both the original and its standalone expansion. But neither Sony nor Sucker Punch have made an announcement, so treat it with a grain of salt until we actually see something.
I mean, it's
come of it.
First off, I gotta give those boys over at Sucker Punch a lot of credit because I remember back in the day when they made Sprocket on the N64, and they've come a mighty, mighty, mighty long way since those days. They were trying to get bought by Nintendo, and Nintendo said, "No, we could." And then they eventually, I think they worked on a Xbox game, and then I think Sony bought them, and they came to prominence for Infamous, right? Was it Infamous? And Ghost of Tsushima was like, I didn't really play it because I just don't have time to indulge in video games like that much anymore. I just work hard, real hard. But man, I gotta say, Ghost of Tsushima impressed me. Like the acting, the voice acting, the story, the motion capture, the fighting, the action, the horses, the environment, the terrain. It was like, to me, it was one of the most gorgeous games. And I'm saying gorgeous in this sense that, because I know, like, I think we're at a point now where it's a little weird to say this is the best looking game because, like, anybody's take is anybody's take. Like, as much as, listen, I'm such a Zelda Breath of the Wild fan, I'm still wild by that. That game came out in 2017.
Yeah.
I'm wild by God of War. I mean, like, shoot on the. By the way, I bumped into a guy today who was explaining to me how much he's into the Norse mythology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We had a great discussion about it too. He was really impressed by the fact that you and I were really big fans of it. But anyway, but point being though is that game right there was really something special. The music, the presentation, and for it to come from Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
I was thoroughly impressed. But what do you think that they could make? Like, do you think there was any loose ends that they could maybe develop into anything? I mean,
the game ended to me pretty perfectly. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it. It definitely sets up for, it pretty much sets up for the fact that Jin Sakai is basically the first ninja, if you will,
Yeah.
in the Japanese history inside of the game. Is pretty much what it's setting up for. He used a lot of subterfuge. He used a lot of, if you would call it, underhanded, non-honorable techniques. That's what caused the rift between he and his uncle in the game. So there's definitely areas to go because obviously that's why I believe that they're going to be delving into one of his senseis. I think his sensei was Ishikawa, is his sensei's name. And then he had a protege. It was a woman who was also a very skilled archer. So with this possible expansion, that's what it looks like it'll be going into. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff to play with because they also didn't fully go after one of his best friends, the woman who actually saved his life. It wasn't Masako, that's his aunt. It was it's the other woman in the game whose brother died. But it's a lot of possibilities for them to delve into. Obviously, a sequel is what everyone wants because that was the first game Sucker Punch had done since Infamous Second Son. Infamous Second Son came out at the beginning of the PlayStation 4's lifespan in 2014. So you're talking about 6 years later until Ghost of Tsushima came out. Obviously, they had to develop the concept, the battle system, things of that nature, the engine. And so that's why it probably took them a very long time to get that game out. But it is very cool. Hopefully they have a lot to bring to the table. Let me just run off some news real quick. Says a prominent leaker has backed up claims that the in development Grand Theft Auto 6 will take place in a modern day Vice City. This is a gaming Bible. I really can't stand how they put everything apart for them. But basically, there's a rumor that the person who's leaked it is a well-known leaker. He leaked the fact that Grand Theft Auto 5 was going to have 3 playable guys in the game, obviously being Frank, Trevor, and Michael. He was right about that. He mentioned that it was going to include both the San Andreas map and an expansion to that map.
Yeah.
And of Los Santos all the way up north and as far as down south. So he's a credible source. Obviously, more than likely, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2013. It's been 8 years this year.
Can you believe
I believe in because it was the winter when it came out. It came out January, February.
But can you believe it's been that long?
Yeah, though? I mean, Red Dead Redemption didn't get its sequel till like 5 years later. No longer, because the first Red Dead Redemption came out 2010. The Red Dead Redemption 2 came out at the end of 2018. So
Red Dead Revolver came out, like 2004?
2004 or 5, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it was 5. But yeah, Rockstar, they put out games. They don't have to keep up. They don't have to make a bunch. They're able to put out a game, and that game lives, and then they can take their time with the modding guys who mod. Because I actually think that's how Cyberpunk is going to survive. Again, it's unfortunate and sad how they released that game in the sorry state that it came out in.
Yeah.
But I think the mod guys are going to take that game and expand on it so much that is going to be they're going to fully realize a game that CD Projekt Red should have fully realized.
Well, I think that's exactly how games like the Elder Scrolls lived for a long time, because when it came out, it would be buggy, as you mentioned earlier. But then through time, you would have fans who would go back in there and mod the characters and look like this to do that.
And the game was a meme too.
Yeah.
The whole I took an arrow to the knee is where that came from.
Yeah.
That became a whole meme.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure.
And then the other thing that I wanted to throw in there too is for some of us who are probably too young to remember a little game called The Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver.
Oh yeah.
And that is coming with an alleged remake, or at least an update. And I'm fascinated, because the Legacy of Kain series, for the PS1 fans that were out there during the time, that was their equivalent of saying, "Take that, Nintendo." The PlayStation 1 versus Nintendo 64 wars were hilarious. Like, the only thing we were missing was the internet. And Nintendo and Sony indulged both fans. They would create these little hit pieces on one another about how long it takes for the PlayStation 1 to load games. Sony would make fun of how cutesy Nintendo's video games were. Nintendo would shoot back when your games are trash. I mean, like, it was hilarious. And it was only further exacerbated by, like, the video game magazine publications, like Game Fan, EGM. Long defunct companies, by the way. No longer Ultra Game Players. All of them were just
gone.
Yeah, just all of them were gone. And it was cool too back in the day, because that was previous to the internet. So you had people who would become friends through the magazines, and it was a little cool, because you could go to the newspaper, you go to like the magazine aisle inside of any store and just be standing there, and then somebody would come in there and see you holding the last magazine, and that would strike up a conversation, and that's how you developed the ability to communicate with one another. Now today, we don't do any of that. We just go online and talk trash to each other. Thought the funniest thing I heard was that somebody said, "I forgot that my name wasn't Negro," because how often he was talked about on the early days of the 360. I mean, it was lit, guys. It really was. Like, it was crazy. It was a wild west, man.
Those 360 lobbies were amazing. Those 360 Call of Duty lobbies were amazing.
Oh yeah. So we go into Soul Reaver though. Legacy of Kain was well ahead of its time, and I would love to see them get a real crack at restarting this whole franchise again. I know that Silicon Knights owned the franchise at one point in time, and then I think Crystal Dynamics won it in a lawsuit against them or whatever. But that Soul Reaver was something special, and there was aspects of the game that actually had to be left out because of the limitations or the limitations of the N64, the limitations of the PlayStation 1. It didn't allow the developers to do all that they could. So when they said they were talking about doing a remake, I'm like, dude, go get the old band back together again, get all the artists. And it would be great to see them fully realize what they want, especially with the PS5, Xbox 3, Xbox One now. But it would be dope to see them fully realize the whole vision of what Soul Reaver franchise.
Who made that game?
It was Crystal Dynamics and Eidos.
Okay, yeah, because then I don't know if Square Enix brought out Eidos or not, but I was about to make a joke where they'll have to get done killing Chaos first where they could let them work on that. But yeah, for sure, it would be pretty cool to see them redo it, remake it. I watched Tierra play that game. I couldn't get into that game. When I was growing up, I was a kid. The most things I wanted to do was play Rogue Squadron and blow stuff up. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Zelda was like the first game that we ever sat down and actually read and played through all the way.
Yeah.
But I was one of those kids who just wanted to blow junk up. F-Zero 64, crash people into the wall and knock people off the map. Mario Kart 64, be annoying to people. And then get put on punishment because I sell all the items all the time. But yeah, for sure. It'll be cool to see what they can do with that game if they do choose to revive it. Because I don't know, last week Thursday I talked about how EA might be allowing the guys at what used to be called EA Redwood to remake and breathe new life into Dead Space. Dead Space 1 and 2 are classics to me. They're some of the best games that ever came out on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3.
I liked the aesthetic of it because of how toxic the environments were. But one thing I loved was how
very dirty game.
Oh yeah, the main character he wasn't nice to like the parasites. He go through there, stomp on a head, keep shooting, and just did not give because he was trying to survive.
Yeah.
But had a little guest who wanted to be part of the video.
Yeah. But one more news story before we move on to One Piece.
One Piece.
Todd Howard was talking about how both Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6 are in development, but most of the team is focused on Starfield. Obviously, it's their first new IP. He said in 25 years at Bethesda Games. It's their first brand new IP in 25 years. So they're really taking care of that one before they move on to anything else. And hopefully the game doesn't come out buggy. I know it was basically I won't say concept because it was already a fully realized concept. It was basically in pre-production when they announced it in 2018. And the game supposedly it has a release window of November next year.
Yeah.
I personally don't believe it. But if it does come out, here's hoping it's not buggy at launch. They do have a track record of releasing buggy games that get fixed over time. But now, since we're in the era of $70 video games, gamers should not be allowing that. And so, that game is in development. I'll read a little bit of what Todd Howard said. He said, overall, Howard said The Elder Scrolls 6 remains in the design phase of its development. The team is currently considering the technical requirements of the game, and this is expected to include advancements to Creation Engine 2 on top of what is needed for Starfield. So obviously, Creation Engine is a new engine that they are fully realized and made Starfield around. So he's saying basically that if they go into Elder Scrolls with this, they're going to have to mold the game to the engine. Because one of the things that Elder Scrolls Skyrim did a lot was that it would generate dungeons for you to go into. There was a bunch of dungeons and areas that would just auto generate.
Yeah.
And so with all of the, I don't know if y'all watched that. What was that studio who did that demo for the PlayStation 5 with all of the Epic Games? Yeah, Epic Games did the whole demo of the 16 billion triangles that they had on the map for the engine and what the Epic engine could do. So it was like, it's a lot of technical know-how that goes into a lot of these things. So he's basically saying that since they're using this engine for Starfield, of course they want to use it for Skyrim, but Skyrim is a very different game, very different beast. It's grounded on Earth. Skyrim is in space, so it's a very different concept. And so that's why he said it's in the design phase right now. So there'll be a lot of time before that game comes out for sure.
Yeah.
You have any comments on it?
I mean, not really, because I feel like the developers, they kind of know what they want out of their creation. And right now, because it is Bethesda, they have a great reputation.
Yeah.
With the fans. And
for now.
Well, I mean, it's just they kind of know what brings their boys to the yard.
Yeah.
They got the milkshake that brings other boys to the yard.
A terrible analogy, but I'll go with it.
I'm just saying.
I'll go with it. But that ends our gaming talk at about 36 minutes in. This last One Piece chapter was I liked it, but at the same time, it's problematic for me. One of the things that's kind of problematic for me is almost and obviously since Kentaro Miura passed away, I'm obviously concerned about a lot of Japanese manga writers and like artists because I know Oda has talked about how last time he talked to his doctor, his health wasn't looking the best, and so they were telling him that like he needs a lot more rest. And so actually these next coming up I think 4 weeks, every chapter we get is going to be a break right after for the next 4 weeks of One Piece. So we're going to get this chapter this Sunday, then there's going to be a break, then obviously the next chapter break. So going down for a long time here, but it's a little bit of a complaint that I have. It starts on chapter panel 2, chapter 2 of 17 pages.
2 going through 3. We're gonna have a discussion about the flaws of One Piece. So let's go.
It's almost the reuse of the same type of panel because it's Queen looking up at Tama. It's literally the same panels over and over and over again. It's like 3 times. So it's like I'm not trying to crack on Oda or his assistants, but it's like, come on, dude, y'all literally just reuse this. It's like an anime episode where they keep on reusing the same cells that you saw in episode 1. Now it's being used again in episode 15 to 20. It's like, come on, this is getting kind of ridiculous now.
What my brother is trying to say is that there's too much chaos. We must defeat chaos.
It's the same panel.
And chaos has reigned supreme too long. We must do away with chaos.
Because if you go to page 2, and then you go to page 5, it's literally Queen looking up where Atama's at. Like it's the same panel layout. And then I believe he does it again in chapter 9, page 9. It's like, all right, it's like. I know it was a light week on content, so it's like that's not really like it's kind of a nitpicky thing, but it is like, man, y'all pretty much reuse the same scene 3 times in the span of 9 pages. It's like, come on, dude.
But do you think that because what I'm looking at is that because everything is drawn by by Oda, right?
Well, he has assistants, so he's not like what's his name, the author.
Kentaro.
No. Kentaro also had assistants. I'm talking about Togashi. Togashi is the one who refuses to get help for Hunter X Hunter.
Oh,
and his wife is the one who did Sailor Moon. So it's like I don't understand this dude.
Oh wow!
His wife draws better than you, and you won't let her help you.
Yeah, his wife does draw better than him.
But I know, like around this time last year, he said that he is considering allowing assistants to come in to help him finish off Hunter X Hunter. But anyway, back on topic. The chapter, I mean, as I said, it's kind of a slow burn chapter. It gets really interesting towards the end, but the end has problems. From an objective writing standpoint, this is something that Oda is introducing now, on top of the possibility of destiny, on top of the possibility of this giant straw hat that we saw inside of Mary Joie back in chapter 900, I believe, 6 or 7. And now we're hearing that the gum fruit might be super special. And it's like, okay, it's like, are we getting the prophesied thing all over again like we got in Naruto? Or because for me, how I always saw it was that anyone who had the D in their initial had the potentiality to become Joy Boy. But if we're getting down to specifics that Joy Boy also had a straw hat, Joy Boy also had the gum fruit, and it's like, then we're basically saying Luffy is the reincarnation of Joy Boy, and we're doing the same thing that we went through with Naruto, with Indra and Ashura, and so I'm hoping it's Oda. He always knows how to put a twist on it. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until the doubt outweighs the benefit.
Yeah.
But those are just some minor gripes that I have with this chapter. Before I give the whole rundown, do you have anything to add on top of that?
I just feel like the complaint. No, I mean, I genuinely feel like, because I didn't really think of it like that. Like, I thought I didn't really too much care for Quaid's design, honestly.
Yeah, his hybrid is a joke. I fully suspect Sanji to mid-diff this guy.
And it would be disappointing if he really didn't, because Oda is very, very creative, and I'll give it to him. Like, this dude has pulled more stuff out of his behind. I mean, it's crazy, because
the fact that he came up with the worst generation in one night, aka the supernova, one night, aside from Luffy, Zoro, and Blackbeard, he came up with all the other members in one night.
One Piece was supposed to end with the story of Alabasta.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was supposed to end.
It was the first 5 years of One Piece,
and I sincerely believe that was his intention. And then that was 20 years later. It's 20 plus years later.
It's gonna be 24 years this July.
Jeez, and it's like, I know somebody will be like, One Piece has lasted too long, but I'm just like, it's kept an audience for this long, so he's doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, it's lasted a very long time, but then he really hasn't answered a lot of questions. So it's like it was like, again, because this is what Dustin talks about with the series, is that, okay, we get, and shout out to him by the way, but it's like we get into the series, we get to Mary Joie, we get to the Reverie, we see this figure walking up these steps, you get inside the door, it's this cold area, and then you see this giant frozen straw hat. Another mystery. You still haven't talked about the voice injury. You still haven't talked about, a lot of the things, a lot of the other concepts that you have introduced. And in this chapter, now you're introducing the possibility of the gum fruit being super important. So now it's okay. So now on top of, we still don't know what happened, 100 years ago. There's a whole outer space that we're probably, at this point, we're probably not going to get to that, because the series will probably get extended for another 3 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Just to cover that. We haven't met Vegapunk. Now we're hearing about Mads, this science group that, Vegapunk, Judge Vinsmoke, Queen, and more than likely Caesar Clown were all a part of. It was like, okay. Now we're getting something else thrown in that we don't know about. It was like, I understand, and he could pull this off in a way that'll just blow all of our minds. Again, this guy has given us moments like, I want to live from Robin. He's given us,
Ace's death.
He's given us Nothing Happened from Zoro, which to me is the best moment in One Piece, personally. For like me, Nothing Happened. He's given us Raizo is safe, or Raizo is here in the Viz translation. So I was like, he's given us a lot of great moments. I never want to sit up here and take away or sound like I'm like hating on the guy. But it's like, we're kind of getting late in the game for you to keep on introducing stuff that you're not explaining to us.
But I think so. It's kind of like, and this is the way I look at it. We just recently finally had Goldie Roger explain
some of it.
But I'm saying though is that Goldie Roger has been an enigma for how many years? We haven't even known his voice. We haven't even known his personality. We just know him as this long beard, frazzled dude. He says, "My treasure is for the taking, and it's all in one piece." And then everybody says, "One Piece is real," and that's what we've known him for, basically, through himself and Edward Newgate, aka Whitebeard. That's what we knew him for. And we just recently got him animated. We got him swinging his sword. We got him performing action. We got explanation of how his pirates and the characteristic of his friends were. We finally got these things. Although years and years ago, Rayleigh showed us how, hey, Goldie Roger didn't look much different than Luffy. Where he had on the hat and told him, hey, let's go on an adventure, which was very reminiscent of how Luffy approached Zoro.
Yeah. So
the way that I kind of look at it is he's telling his odyssey. He's telling, I do think you're right. He's a little self-indulgent from time to time because there are certain parts that I cannot stand. Wedding cake, 30
plus chapters or what,
and then Luffy with the announcement that he's going to fight and he needs 10 minutes.
I gotta say that
10 minutes of playtime.
That was trash. Even in these recent chapters, Luffy miraculously using the voice of all things to communicate to not just Momo but also Law's pirates, because they're like, it sounds like we can hear his voice in our heads. It's like, so he just magically knows how to use the voice. He uses the more advanced voice of all things than what even Goldie Roger was able to do.
But the way I
like, come on, man.
And I get it, but the way that I kind of understand it is Luffy was already blooming with his hockey.
That's an excuse.
I'm not trying to make it an excuse for bad writing. No, hear me on this. He was already in the process of blooming in some aspects. Kaido has been his hardest arc. Like, if we're talking about the many things he's been through,
he should be.
But if you look at it from the standpoint that when he went through Water 7, that was hard. But then what did that produce? Gear 2. That his Gear 3rd.
Well, he said Gear 2nd came from his loss against Aokiji.
Okay,
that's when he developed Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd. Okay. Now we didn't get to see it, but off screen. But apparently on the boat to Water 7, he was developing Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd. Yeah. Again, would have loved to have seen it, but it's even there. It was like, okay, not only that happens, but Zoro develops Ashura and Sanji develops Diable Jambe. Yeah. There's like 3 techniques we as readers didn't get to see at all. But then miraculously, when the time comes, we're pulling out the end. It's like, oh, okay, I don't. Again, he gives us great moments. So it was like, okay,
I'll keep going.
Exactly. I'm already invested, so I'll keep going with it. But it's like, at a certain point, like, come on, dude, like, something's got to give. We got to start getting some explanations. And one of my fears is that when we finally do get these explanations, they'll just kind of be ran through because we need to go ahead and move on. And it's like,
we don't have really the time.
I don't have time to
development.
explain. I don't want a Destiny type of thing where it's like I could tell you about all of this and this battle and that battle, but
I'll say
that for another day.
Yeah,
and it's like,
or I'll say it for it's destiny.
Exactly. It's like, so that is a little bit of my fear is that we're getting all of this build up, we're getting all this stuff, and then okay, he's Oda, so he can do it again. He's had great moments. I'm not going to take any of that away. I will always give Oda his flowers, but there have been times where bad writing has crept in, a la Whole Cake Island, Wedding Cake for 27, 30 plus chapters of a Yonko, one of the top 4 pirates in the world, running around mindless. Wedding Cake. Other things that were mentioned in the arc totally get thrown out the window because plot. It's like there Oda does miss from time to time, but those two things overall was a good chapter. But I think the most important thing that comes down to it is the who's moment. But leading up to that, we get in the beginning of the chapter. These 1v1s have turned into 1 versus 20 to like 30 plus. Inu and Jack started off talking junk to one another. Jack is like, there's no moonlight down here, so there's no Sulong for you. Inu shoots back, oh yeah, and there's also no like gas, there's nothing for you to use against me. So this is supposed to be a fair fight. Well, lo and behold, Jack is allowing his subordinates to attack Inu. Inu has an arrow in his back. We already knew Frankie was getting overwhelmed by the Beast Pirates along with Sasaki. Jinbei gets grazed by one of who's underlings in here until Tama, who's been in the chapter, who's been in One Piece since July of 2018. So coming up on 3 years. Her power is to control animals with her dango that she is able to produce as a Paramecia user. And so she already was feeding all of the gifters in here. She also had Speed helping her out do that. And so she finally makes the announcement and tells everyone to switch sides, stop fighting for Kaido, help us, and fight for Luffy and Momonosuke. And so now all of the gifters are turning on the Beast Pirates, and the tide is turning all over again, right?
We caught you plotting, man.
Exactly.
And now the tide is
turning. And so, we get all of that. We get a shot of Momo, which is kind of out of place, here to be honest with you. It's like, okay, how did Momo and Shinobu survive? Did he use his flight ability to get them down there, or did Shinobu simply just use her parachute to glide them down to like the ground from the top of? Because she used her devil fruit to decay off some rocks, a cliff, if you will, off of the island to float down. And even there with Momo, it's like, okay, when is he going to get over his fear? When is he going to finally start to mature and step up to the leader that he's supposed to be? It's like, okay, because some folks believe Momo is going to be a cabin boy on the Straw Hat crew, while others believe he's going to stay in Wano and rise to be like Shogun. And it's like, if it's the latter, it's like, how? We're like 100 plus chapters into this arc, and he's still a coward. It's like I understand he's 8 years old. I get all that, and I understand all of that. Not taking that away at all, but it's like, okay, when is his character going to grow? When is he going to have that moment? You know what? I got to buck up. I got to go ahead and do this. When? Because he was there when his father and mother died. He's there when he saw Kinemon and them all go in against Kaido. So when is he, as their leader, going to go ahead and step up and do what needs to be done?
Well, I think honestly though, Oda is. I don't think we've reached the pinnacle yet.
Yeah, I mean, this arc can go on for another 40 to 50 chapters. Easy.
Yeah, and easy. So, but I'm talking about like knowing how he's going to tell the story. Like you said, he'll go 40 to 50 chapters, right? But by the time it's 40 to 50 chapters in, the chapter it's already done. What I'm saying is, we're approaching it. And with the Kimi Dango being put in place, and now we're about to see like what's so crazy about the way he's kind of shaped the storyline. CP0 sitting in the background. You think they're really going to let this just happen between those two and not have? How is this really going to end? Not only with CP0, like in all honesty, yeah, CP0 is there. We know that Trafalgar Law is there. We know that Captain Kidd is there. But it doesn't feel like this is a winning hand. So I'm still waiting for, like, let's say, for example, I'm waiting for Killer to finally convince Basil Hawkins,
To
look,
switch sides.
yes, this is the time. Like I'm waiting for that to happen. I'm waiting for even like them to go ahead and start talking about what
DSS.
DS.
Drake.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Drake to come around. I'm waiting for there to be a turn in the battle, and then we end up where it's turned so far, Luffy shows up, and then we're seeing that we're walking Kaido down. But even then, with CP0 being in the distance, we know the government is coming. We also know that Blackbeard may make an appearance. And then on top of that, we also know, because your boy Oda said it, Kid may make it. Not Kid, but your boy Red Hair Shanks may make it. So
I think that's going to be outside of Wano.
It could happen outside of
because
Wano.
If this act ends, he always goes away from the act when the act ends. That's when he gives us a shot of what's going on in the outside world.
And I get it, but there's too many other factors for me to say, okay, this is going to be it. What's going to happen is CP0 going to suddenly say, okay, we've concluded this. We're going to leave this alone. I don't think so. Will Blackbeard suddenly say, hey, this is my opportunity to go in there and be Blackbeard again? Is he going to do that? He's already out there.
It depends on who his spy is, because we know he knows what's going on inside of Wano. But the belief in the community, at least, is that
King?
No, Blackbeard found Pluton, is what folks are saying, because the government, the Marines, were in Alabasta.
Yeah,
that's where they were at. So the belief, the majority belief in the community, is that King Cobra died. Sabo got framed with killing him. It's not that Sabo got captured. Sabo got framed with killing King Cobra. And so they blamed it on him. But Blackbeard's words were, and we believe he was referring to the world government. If they're not going to go get it, then I will. Remember, one thing about Blackbeard is that he's also a archaeologist. He does a lot of research.
Yeah.
So he's methodical. Again, he waited for 20 years in Whitebeard's crew just for the chance to come across the Yami Yami.
Yeah.
This guy's calculated. And so he doesn't just do things on a whim. He thinks and plots out things. So that's the majority belief, is that he knows where a powerful weapon is at. And he said, if they won't get it, I will. We know Crocodile believes Pluton was in Alabasta. More than likely it is, because it's a whole desert, so it's probably there. And so you have that right there. I think with CP0, I would love it if Sanji dealt with them. One thing that we know that the raid suit allows you to do is that if you remember, after Germa got away from the Big Mom pirates and they beat up the 10,000 soldiers, what they were able to do is that when they had their hands on the vocal cords, on the vocal box, they were able to imitate those voices. So I would love it if Sanji was the one who came across either all three of them, or maybe one of them catches one of them off guard, knocks that guy out, and does that ability and finds out who they're actually connected to.
Yeah.
Because it would be another Mr. Prince moment. We saw this with Sanji and Alabasta with Mr. 3. He impersonated him. So Sanji doing that again. He has a raid suit. He's even
more Sanji than what he was
exactly.
Before.
He's black. He's that character from the whole comic book strip, the most famous character. And Sanji did say that he would one day become the most dangerous one, or he would be the one to give the world government the most trouble. What other way than to interact directly or impersonate someone from Cypherpole Zero, the shield, the one seemingly in contact with all of what the Marines are involved with. That would be his way from stopping the government coming to Wano as well. Because it took Luffy and them 3 days to recover from just Rosa from dealing with Dofi. It's probably going to take Luffy 2 or 3 weeks to recover from fighting Kaido. This is not going to be something that they're just going to, be able to overcome in a span of a few days, especially with what Zoro is about to go through with his magical sensu being. That's, even there, it's like, okay. Now we all knew Zoro was going to get back in the war. There was no way Zoro was done from the rooftop. And Zoro's whole thing is what? Walking the path of pain, the path of the Ashura. So he's going to have to. That drug is going to wear off at a crucial moment. We all know this, and Zoro is going to overcome it. More than likely, learning how to actually use Conqueror's coding on an attack. I hope it's Shishi Sansan. I would love to see him beat King with the Conqueror's coded Shishi Sansan. I would love for that to be the way Zoro takes him out because it would be the first time he would use it with a one sword style technique. We also believe that Zoro is going to turn one of his blades black. So Zoro was always going to get back into this fight in Wano. So for yes, no one likes the way that it's being done. Chopper's not the one who's doing it. It's from somebody else, because that is a major complaint about Chopper. Aside from him curing Queen's Plague, every arc that someone in our group or another group has been in trouble is not Chopper solving the issue. It's somebody else solving it for Chopper.
Yeah.
And Chopper is the one who took 2 years to learn all kinds of medicine, all kinds of things. And we saw this back in Whole Cake Island going there when Reiju was the one who helped Luffy get over the whole poison infection. It wasn't Chopper. Chopper didn't, doctor up a drug. He wasn't doctoring enough. It was Reiju. Here again, and again, Zoro does it. So in Chopper's defense, Zoro does have 20 to 30 broken bones. But still, you would have loved to have seen it to be Chopper was the one who developed a super healing drug, but it's the Minks. And yes, there's a callback to chapter 811, I believe, with Zoro. It's talking about how fast the Minks are like healing. But we don't learn about the drawback there. We learn about it here. So it's a plot convenience. It is what it is. It's a coincidence.
I personally think it would be fascinating if Zoro is somehow able to do something the equivalent of like a penance stare. And what I mean by that is taking the pain that he's going through and enforce it on somebody else.
Of course.
I think that is something that potentially could be a power of his, only because Oda seems to have this understanding of the double-edged ability that these characters kind of have. He's kind of inferred that with Trafalgar Law kind of essentially being like a straw hat his own self. And even though we understand that, there are 3 different captains, I think we all kind of know that, but I think in the back of a lot of the readers' minds, especially ours, we're like, Trafalgar tags up with Luffy very well. And that's a great team, as well as even with Kid. Like the 3 of them went up against, the 4 of them really went up against Big Mom, Kaido, even with Killer being there. That was an essential story progression. And I understand they were like, Luffy's going to go against Kaido 1-on-1. But I think we needed that how do they call it? Hubris.
Yeah.
Twice the pride, twice the fall.
I mean, yes,
double the fall.
Luffy's not ready for a 1v1 yet against Kaido. So even in Odin's words, he said in 20 years, pirates would storm into the New World, and these pirates will be the one to strike down Kaido. Kaido, for some reason, thinks it's supposed to be Joy Boy. If you're going by his dialogue when he knocked Luffy off of the island, he says, so you couldn't be Joy Boy either, because he thinks Luffy's going to die in the water. So Kaido seemingly believes Joy Boy is going to be the one who does him in, but Odin said pirates are going to be the ones to strike down Kaido. It's not just going to be a singular person. There's going to be multiple people who take down Kaido. And even though Luffy might want to be the one, obviously Luffy will be the one to land the finishing blow. the final blow to knock Kaido out. But will it be a 1v1 again? No, I don't believe so. I believe it's going to involve, because Togi's prophecy was 9 shadows. So we know it's not the Red Scabbards. They failed. It wasn't the Rooftop 5. They couldn't do it. So we still need seemingly 4 other shadows to help take out Kaido. It seems Yamato is one of them, so maybe just 3 now. 3 more shadows to help take out Kaido. Could be
Killer.
Drake.
Well, Killer
was already there. So you would say Killer, Drake, maybe Sanji as one of the 9 shadows.
And I would say
Jinbei, I would say, is
either Jinbei or it's
or another force comes on the island.
What's his face? The one who we talked about earlier, Hawkins.
Well,
and the reason
Hawkins, yeah,
because he has
that trump card, and
it was already it's a pre-written device.
Yeah, it was already talked about as soon as we got to Wano. He mentioned having a card that draws out more of your innate abilities.
Yeah,
it makes you more stronger. So Luffy getting that on top of his Conqueror's coding, he might be able to 1v1 Kaido at that point.
Might be able to.
But let's get into the real meat of this chapter. Who's Who reveals that the thing that got him locked up in prison, because he reveals that because we know earlier when he very first began fighting Jinbei, he said that he saw Jinbei 2 years ago. So to us, 2 years ago would have to be Impel Down, right? That's where Jinbei broke out of prison with Luffy, Ivankov, Crocodile, everyone else. But Who's Who said he saw Jinbei as he was a warlord. We know Jinbei's title of warlord was not revoked until he showed up at Marineford when Sengoku said, "So I guess this is your answer." And Jinbei said yes. And so that's when Jinbei lost his warlord status, not at Impel Down, but at Marineford. And so Who's Who says he told Jinbei he saw him 2 years ago. And so he goes back to that conversation again. We see him start to use the 6 techniques of Roku Shiki, or
6 powers.
The 6 powers. He's using Shave, Geppo, Tempest Kick,
Iron
Body, which is just armament hockey. And we're seeing him use. I know Sawyer mentioned that when he shot off the one from his mouth, that might be the 6 King Cannon, aka the Roll Kogun, which is what Lucci used to damage Luffy, because we know wave attacks hurt Luffy. Aside from being cut by a blade, wave attacks also hurt Luffy. That's why Fisherman Karate is so strong against Luffy as well, because it messes with the water in your body and obviously your blood. And so Who's Who brings up the conversation again. He says the thing that got him locked up in prison was that they got attacked by a group of pirates, and he lost the gum fruit. And aside to this is that in the original one shot for One Piece, the gum fruit that Luffy eats in that chapter, it was worth the same amount of laws Opi no Mi, 5 billion berries. And so you lock up a CP9 member in prison because they lost the gum fruit. A seemingly generic, not gonna say trash, devil fruit, because Luffy has made it cool. Obviously gear 2nd, gear 3rd, gear 4th. The things that Luffy can do with it. But it's like, why would that put a Cypherpole agent behind bars? Because even when people have seen it, no one's been like, "Oh, that's the same. That's the same fruit this person had, or that person had, or this person had, or that person had." No one's ever said that about the gum fruit. Because I know right now a popular theory going around is that it was Rox D. Zebek. But if it was Rox D. Zebek, why didn't Whitebeard or anyone say anything about Luffy having the gum fruit? Couldn't be that. It would have to be someone from the Void Century, which is why I talked about Joy Boy in the beginning. Is that if Joy Boy had a straw hat and Joy Boy had the gum fruit, here we start mixing in the destiny, because again, Kaido is seemingly waiting for Joy Boy to be the one to come after him and take him out. And so it's like, my question to you is, if Joy Boy had the straw hat, and if Joy Boy is also the one using the gum fruit, and that was Luffy, how do you feel about the series now? Because it's like, does it take on a different identity? Is it going down that Naruto route, or do you still think Oda has enough originality to not let us sink down that route of it's just destiny, it's just predestined?
Man, all right. So it's like as a One Piece fan, the mystery has always been to me why the gum fruit, because like think about it for a minute. Naruto, Sasuke had Chidori first, right? But then Naruto had Rasengan. Goku had Kamehameha. Vegeta has Gatling gun
and the Vegeta Bang.
Yeah, he had those different things. We know why Goku had Kamehameha. Kamehameha was considered to be a powerful tool, the most powerful move that
Master
Roshi had. We also know that Rasengan was also one of the most powerful jutsus that the fourth Hokage had, as well as Jiraiya had. So we get it. We know that Sasuke, even though he's an Uchiha, we understood he was basically being mentored by Kakashi, so he had more Kakashi in him than actually Uchiha. So we get that. And then it's only after he ends up with the Orochimaru that he begins to combine both the Uchiha, or really the Orochimaru way of doing things, which was more like the Uchiha, because of the genjutsu and the strong jutsu type stuff.
Body flicker.
Yes. And then also when you consider that it was with Kakashi because of his strategy and his mindset, but with powerful moves like Chidori, which was unbreakable, unblockable, essentially. That's where it all kind of comes from. So in the Shonen universe, there are certain things that Shonen does do. Friendship is the most powerful thing. The power of friendship. You remember how the word
fairy tale?
Yeah. Oh, you're so powerful because I gotta fight for my friends. And I kind of get it, because there are certain principles that even me as a Christian, I know. Like Christ said, there's no greater love than a man should lay down his life for his friends. So I understand it. And we all understand that love is stronger than hate. So, and I'm just looking at it from a philosophical storytelling standpoint. It kind of makes sense, because, again, why the gum fruit? Like, I get it. He defeated Itaru, and that was a perfect situation for that. And it would just happen to be a perfect situation for that. But why the gum fruit? He could have had lightning. He could have had Ace's power, for goodness sake. He could have had he could have had the strong Haki from the very beginning, like Shanks did. He could have had, but he had the gum fruit. And so, as a reader of One Piece and as a reader of manga, my logic says the gum fruit has always been a red herring. We just didn't realize it, because it's gum. Because Shonen is about destiny. Like, whether we like it or not, it is about destiny. And One Piece has already kind of inferred that there's one who would come after them that would be greater than all those before them, and that he would be able to change the game up. And if you look at how Luffy essentially was essentially going through everything he was going through, it's always been a build up to eventually it being shonen.
Yeah.
Right? Where it changes the story for me is not so much Luffy's journey, but everything happening around Luffy's journey. I want to know, why did Shanks have that fruit then?
That which exactly that was the next question. Is that, to me, it puts Shanks in a whole different light. And you can say Shanks was just using deductive reasoning when he was telling Whitebeard everything that was going to happen if he went to Marineford. He was just, using deductive reasoning. But I don't know, guys. It's like it was way too specific, everything he told Whitebeard was going to happen. We know people have future sight inside this series. Madame Charlie can tell the future to the exact date. She knew exactly when Shirahoshi was going to be born. She knew, she knew everything that was going to happen. She knows Luffy is going to destroy Fishman Island.
Yeah.
She just doesn't know, under the circumstances, that Luffy will destroy Fishman Island. And so Shanks is this character, this enigmatic character who can go as far as to meet with the Gorosei.
Yeah.
And say, I want to talk to you guys about a certain pirate.
And the Gorosei, for those who don't understand, the Gorosei is the equivalent of the top
of the Illuminati.
Basically, they control everything.
They control the whole world.
They control the whole world.
They only answer to one person who's not supposed to be sitting on the throne. They answer to Imu or Im-sama. So he gets to meet with these people, right? We don't even know Shanks' lineage. We really don't know who Shanks is at all. We don't know who his parents are.
He was a friend to Luffy in the very beginning.
Exactly.
He protected Luffy with his life, or so it seems. He did a lot of things.
And so it was like, so he just happened upon a kid who had to be a D. This kid just happened to eat the gum fruit.
He has had hockey since the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like, he's the one character in One Piece is that he exuded off. Like,
yeah, I mean,
he really hasn't changed.
In the Vivid card, he's said to be a hockey master, is what Shanks is said to be. And so we know one of the furthest forms of observation hockey is future sight, is reading the future. So again, I'm not saying he might be on Madame Charlie's level, but the coincidences. Luffy just happens to eat the gum fruit. And Luffy just happens to be a D.
And then as a fan of the series, anytime Shanks shows up, the whole story changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he shows up, and that's the beginning of One Piece.
Yep.
He shows up, and then all of a sudden you're looking at Hawkeye Mihawk different. He shows up, it's Marineford.
He stops the war.
He stops the war by himself. This is a war that's going between the world government and all the powers involved. All the emperors of the sea.
Shichibukai.
Everybody is at it. And then one of the warlords is going at it. And then another soon-to-be warlord shows up. It's like the stakes are getting higher. And he walks in there, peace, be still. And everybody says, all right. I mean, he even made sure that the pirates were able to bury
Whitebeard and Ace
properly. At Marineford.
Properly, so it's like
disrespectfully, and nobody dare trifle with the monument.
Yeah, well, no, the monument is on Whitebeard's favorite island.
Okay.
It's back at his favorite island.
Yeah,
it's at the island he was secretly sending money to. So it's at his favorite island. But again, this guy can walk up to the Gorosei. He can stop the war at Marineford. He basically started One Piece because without him being there, Luffy doesn't eat the gum fruit.
Yeah.
It's like, he's the one Garp blames, because Garp blames Shanks for Luffy wanting to become a pirate. And so it puts a different spin when Shanks talks to Whitebeard and when he talks to Rayleigh, and they're like, we were surprised when you came back from the East Blue with only one arm. And Shanks, pass it off. I met this kid. He's talking to Rayleigh, I believe, and he said the exact same thing Roger said. Now we don't know what Roger said, because when when he explained his dream to Whitebeard and Odin was like shocked. But Whitebeard was like, "That's such a foolish dream." He said, "It sounds like a child," and Roger just laughed. When Luffy said it to Sabo and Ace, they were like, "What type of dream is that?" And Luffy just laughed. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying is that I get, as fans of the series, we want to see him do something, but I feel like he's kind of told us this story and kind of told us what it's going to be, and it's just up to us to kind of finally put everything together and be able to realize what's going on. He's included so many different elements, though, and has pulled it together that I have a bit more faith in him, not because he's just an excellent writer, but because he has a track record. Is he perfect? No, man. There's only one great writer. There's only one perfect writer, and even the word people find boring. I'm just being real with you. People find all kinds of stuff boring that should be very interesting to them. We won't go there, but he has a pulse on what he's doing. And my fear as a fan of One Piece is that if we don't let him tell a story, we end up with what happened to Titan Kubo's Bleach. If we don't let him tell his story the way it needs to be told, we end up with the 1,000-Year War, which felt more like like 10 chapters,
a small skirmish that we don't get to.
It wasn't epic. It
fully
wasn't
realized, and of course, I want Oda to take as much time as he can and as he needs to, but it is at a certain point to where, like, as I said, the one who I'm looking at sideways now is Shanks. I'm looking at Shanks sideways now. I was like, okay, you just happen to have the gum fruit. You just accidentally put it up there on the counter to where Luffy could just accidentally eat it. None of y'all catch that this guy is eating a fruit that potentially was worth 5 billion berries. Like, none of y'all caught that. That is like, again, this guy Shanks, warns Whitebeard was going to happen. It's like it's different now. It's different now. It's not just, oh, he's just red hair Shanks. He's just this cool, good pirate. He doesn't do anything. It's like, I've heard people say to where he's waiting for a D like Luffy to come around, so that way he can find the One Piece and he can take it for himself. I don't believe it's like that. I don't believe he's like truly, it's evil Shanks. I don't believe in the whole evil Shanks theory, but this does cast dispersions on his character. Like, are you really just, happening to like let these things happen on accident, or is this like on purpose?
I would like to see. So we know that years ago, Oda had written that he had certain books that had to be done. One of the books was clearly Kaido. Yeah. One of them was Elbaf.
He had the Yonko Saga on the desk.
Yeah.
He had Dragon's Book on the desk.
Yeah.
Elbaf was on there. And I believe it had the Reverie was on there too.
Yeah.
It was on there.
So we know that
concept books for his workstation.
And we've already seen close to 3 or 4 of them already be completed now.
I mean, he's still in the process because the 4 Yonko Saga is still like the Throne War Saga.
I think there was even one with Dragon.
Yeah. So
there's
like 4 or 5 books up there on the shelf.
We are getting close to that point where it's about to be finished, and but I do feel like we gotta let him finish his story because not because I'm not that I'm completely happy with the way that he tells the story, but because it's going to be complete. We'll be able to look back and say, okay, but he kind of said this again and again and again. Like that's when you ask me, am I no, I'm not completely happy with it, but I also understand that it's shonen. Like, shonen tried to do something different, and look at how it can't handle Attack on Titan. They can't handle it.
I mean,
they try to do something different with The Promised Neverland. They can't handle it.
I mean, well, it depends on what. If you're talking about traditional shonen, yes, they can handle it. But I'll say this: there's 2 series in shonen right now that I've heard that aren't anywhere near traditional shonen and that are tearing up the charts. Kimetsu no Yaiba,
absolutely,
and the other one,
My Hero.
No, the other one you're always telling me about. They're the top 2 selling manga out right now. One is Demon Slayer, and the other one is the one right behind it. The one with the Sakuda. What is his name? Kid with the pink hair. The one who you're always telling me about.
Oh, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jujutsu Kaisen. There you go.
Yeah. That is dope.
Those 2 from what I haven't read either of them yet. But I've been told both of them are not anywhere near as traditional shonen. So and even One Piece isn't really and now it's kind of gotten more traditional because it focuses on Luffy too much. Because one thing I loved about pre-time skip, especially Skypiea and Thriller Bark, is that we got away from Luffy. I think those arcs to me were some of the best arcs in pre-time skip. Even Innings Lobby and Water 7, we got away from Luffy. But now we focus so much on Luffy that to me it hinders the other cast members to a certain extent. to where before we got to the rooftop, we never believed Zoro could do all the stuff he was doing on the rooftop because Oda had Shano do anything. Zoro's biggest feat was cutting Pika. That was his biggest feat up until that point, and to see what he did on the rooftop is wild.
Can I be real? I would tell you why I knew he could do everything he did on that rooftop. Because he wasn't challenged. This Negro here was never challenged.
Mm-hmm.
The people who were said to be the one you gotta watch out for, he got some. The people who they said, okay, this is the Fishman, and he's taking all the steroids, and he cut Holy Jones in the water. You're not supposed to do that fast.
Yeah,
he moved faster
than a Fishman.
The problem was that we never got to see him do a Mr. One. We never saw him push that point. We never got to see him do what he did with Bartholomew Kuma.
Mm-hmm.
He's never been pushed the way that he pushed when he went up against one of the generals who had his boot over his head. He was about to blow his head completely off.
Hey man, Kizaru.
We never saw him like that. He hasn't. Zoro has been Mr. And then people split in half. And then they can't heal themselves. He's been Mr. Look, my intent.
Yeah,
deadly.
We had a little bit of a glimpse in Dressrosa where he was able to push back a Navy admiral.
Yes,
when he pushed back,
and then the Naval
Fujitora, and it was
Fujitora left.
Exactly. If Fuji said, watch out for that dude.
Yeah,
so he had an admiral tell everybody, hey, watch out for that guy.
And we're talking about we're not just talking about just an admiral. We're talking about a guy who could stand alongside Aokiji. He could stand alongside
Sakazuki, Kizaru.
He could
Green Bull.
Every one of them. So you're talking. He'll say, "Man, you better watch out for that dude right there." That's what let me know. Okay, and he had never been pushed. We saw him open his eye one time when he went up against one of the fishmen, but he was like, "Man, this was too easy." Like I was getting excited for no apparent reason. These brothers is tripping. And we never got to see it. So when they said, "Hey, by the way, not only are you going to go up against the most deadly creature, the strongest pirate, you're going to not only do it, you're going to go up against him and Big Mom, who's one of the strongest and one of the most powerful. And you're going to go up against him at the same time. And then he's literally MVP in the whole time." The only thing that bothered me about it is that we didn't get him to see him to shine one-on-one with Kaido the way that we saw Luffy go against Kaido. We saw him go out there and do his cut, but only after he had taken that lick from Big Mom and Kaido at the same doggone time. Every time this guy is about to get up and do something super duper impressive, my main man Oda turns around and says, "We can't have you looking better than Luffy.
You can't have the second in command look better than the main character."
No, because that's and I understand it would be bad for story development. It would be bad for the narrative. You can't technically have that, but doggone it, man! If Zoro is the strongest pirate on that doggone crew, I'd be disappointed. Only because I love Oda, but I can point out feats that not even Luffy has done. I can point out feats.
I'll give him the feat that he was the one who jumped in front of the blow. That even though Luffy has advanced observation haki, where he can see a glimpse of the future, just like Katakuri can, Zoro was the one who jumped in front of the blow. It wasn't anybody else. It wasn't.
No, everybody else was like, shoot,
was frozen. He bought them enough time to get out of the way to where even Kid was like, thanks. Kid never thanks anybody. And so
not only that, I go back to when they went up against Gecko Moria, and then he finds himself fighting Bartholomew Kuma for the crew's life.
Yeah.
And everybody else is down, but he's the only one still hanging in there. Yeah. And he knew that Sanji would fall over. So he says, great. Like, again, he won my heart when
as I said, nothing happened is my favorite moment in One Piece. Like I don't like everything else is great. I'm not gonna say everything else pales in comparison. I'm not gonna go that far. That's just going off.
He's standing there at the
off
end,
the deep end, but him standing
suffering
there, like,
all the agony that Luffy went through after going through all the pain and agony he went through. Mm-hmm. He took upon the responsibility of making sure the captain lived, man.
Yeah.
Dog, you can't tell me there's a better character in One Piece for that moment alone. Because to me, that's like Christ level right there. That's not going. That's Samwise Gamgee. That's blasphemy. Man, Jesus said it himself. He said there's no greater love than a man should lay down his life for his friends. I'm sorry. That was it. That was it.
We have Jesus Christ here now. Is Jesus Christ here? Oh, bro, I gotta tell that story. It's like everybody in the Discord chat. We have a new tier. Jesus Christ tier.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I will always give Zoro his flowers. Because he is my favorite Straw Hat.
Yeah.
Luffy is second. Sanji is third. But so Zoro, as I said, nothing happened is my favorite moment in One Piece.
Yeah.
It showed Zoro do something that we all know Luffy would do, because we saw Luffy do it in Long Ring Island going against Aokiji. He told everybody else to leave and that he would fight him, even if it meant him dying.
Yeah.
He was willing to sacrifice himself to keep not just Robin alive, but everybody else.
The other thing I'll say too, another one of my favorite moments, so he says I'm too weak. Mm-hmm. And that made me cry like a baby, because I felt that moment in One Piece. Like I had to put it down for a moment, because when he said I'm too weak, and he's crying over the loss of his brother. And it's like, that's always a nightmare, is the day that there's nothing I can do. Mm-hmm. And it's just a nightmare. But, Luffy had moments where he shined, but that moment with he didn't even hold it against nobody. Like, I know niggas that, if forget me for being honest, guys, but I know cats, listen, they go around the block. They gonna hold it over your head for 6 months. I mean, I'll run around the block for you. I hope you know. It's like, what'd you go around the block for? I went to go get you some NyQuil over at CVS. My house is listed about what? Nigga, I went around the block for you. But that moment right there, that was definitely one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, for sure. So as I said, those are just a few of my concerns for it going forward, and my newfound side eye that I have on Shanks now. Is it truly just coincidence, or does Shanks know exactly what he was doing? And it could be for Luffy's benefit, because there's rumor there that Shanks was one of the folks that Roger saved on God Valley, because we know that they went that the reason why Garp hated God Valley was because he had to help the celestial dragons, and Garp hates he hates them with a passion. That's why he won't become a Navy admiral, because he would have to work directly under them, and he can't stand them at all.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's a lot left. But as I did say, these next 4 chapters are going to be a break after every chapter that comes out. So we're not going to get consistent One Piece again until late August, it seems.
He needs to take a break.
But yeah, he needs it. I mean, he's 48 going on 49 now. So I was like, he needs his breaks. He's given us, to me, the best series in Shonen, even though it does have a few shortcomings here or there. It's still the best series ongoing in Shonen, in my opinion. So for sure. But that'll do it for our One Piece talk tonight, and for our stream. Do you have any comments you want to leave off with?
I mean, my man said I put Zoro on Jesus Christ level, so I guess that's a new level. But yeah, I mean, like it was great. But yeah, guys, please comment, share, subscribe. We appreciate all the we're working on this. We're doing everything we can to be more consistent and obviously provide you guys with some compelling content. We hope you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, let us know what you didn't enjoy about it. But more so than anything, interact with us, man. We really want to build this relationship and definitely take it to the next level. So with that said, God bless and good night.
God bless and good night. Y'all take it easy.
Later.